Welcome to the Chefofx podcast.
So I went to Yosemite this weekend for the first time.
Okay.
And
you were telling me about that.
It was amazing. So it was kind of interesting, the dynamic, because I met people from all over, and I thought that it would be a group of friends that all knew each other. But actually, there were people from UC Berkeley, Santa Cruz, CSU, East Bay.
College students.
Yeah, it was all college students because it was like a cabin of 20 students, and we all just were friends of friends of friends of friends of friends.
Wow.
And we all somehow all got along, and the energy was amazing. So it was my first time. And also, like, I have really bad asthma, so I was really worried about the hikes. But luckily, we had long, straight hikes that weren't very high elevation. So
you were able to make it through.
I was able to make it
without
through.
too many breathing problems.
Yeah, and we walked 7 miles. So like,
wow.
it was really good for not having any breathing problems.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. I have to show you the pictures later.
Okay. So would
Yeah.
you consider yourself like an outdoors person in general, or was this going outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I love the outdoors, but I don't know if I ever told you that I was diagnosed with lupus.
No.
So I was diagnosed with lupus when I was 17, and it's an autoimmune disease. I can talk a little bit about it. Where so when you're sick, your immune system attacks whatever's attacking you. But when I get sick, my immune system attacks myself, which is why it's very important for me to not get sick in the first place.
Right.
That's why I have to be very cautious. So anyways, it just really sucks because one triggering thing about lupus is that it gets triggered by the sun.
Wow.
So when you have a cold, your cold is triggered by rain, or like if you're in the rain and you don't have anything on and your body loses temperature. So for example, when you get a cold, it's triggered by your body temperature going down. Lupus can be triggered by the sun, so being in the sun too much. And for a couple years, I just didn't give a shit. I literally, especially living in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And so I never had a parking pass to school. I would bike to school every day or walk to school. And then in 2017, I got really sick because I triggered a flare-up, which I don't know how I did, but I was in the hospital for 4 weeks and yada, yada, yada. It was really bad, and I had a chemo treatment, actually. I'm actually wearing fake hair right now.
Whoa.
I'm actually half, like, my hair fell out. Actually, for a moment, I actually had a weave.
Wow.
Yeah, my best friend from undergrad, she has braids, and she like knew the weaving process.
Yeah.
So she like directed me towards that, but it just wasn't healthy for my hair, so I just got tape and extensions.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I love being outdoors. I just have to be very cautious of it. So like being like always putting on sunscreen, always wearing hats. But I love being outdoors. I actually need to be outdoors. Like, I can't be inside too long, or else I'm going to start feeling depressed.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, that was a lot.
Yeah. Well, it seems very tricky to need to stay out of the sun and stay out of the normal things that get people sick, like the rain and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when I went to Yosemite, I was just like always trying to walk in the shade. Luckily, it wasn't too bright, and I put on like the sunblock. But I really do have to be outside. Like, I cannot stay inside or else like I just don't feel good, like, mentally.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to get out there and not get sick. A part of my mind is thinking, how do I avoid getting, like, if I had to do what you do, could I even do that? Avoid getting sick, period.
Yeah. A lot of people, it's actually really nice that a lot of people say, like, oh, Anna, I didn't even know that you were sick. Like, a lot of people, but like there's a lot of things that I have to do that people don't see.
Yeah.
Just to like make sure that I'm healthy. So like I always like disinfect doorknobs and like disinfect like toilet seats and stuff like that. Just little things, and try to wear hats, which I'm not that great at. But yeah, so the sun is triggering, and for a long time, even when I was living in Santa Barbara, this summer actually, I went swimming every single day.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love the ocean. Like, I love swimming in the ocean.
In the ocean? That seems like that would be a little dangerous.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, I always try to get all my housemates to do it with me, and only a couple people were always down.
Yeah.
It seems dangerous, and I sometimes I felt dangerous, like, I felt not that safe too, like if I went too far. But I started to get used to it. I always brought like a boogie board or a surfboard out there to hang on to, and it was really relaxing and therapeutic to just like be floating in the ocean.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Man, I feel so privileged as a well, for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, as like an outdoors kid, or at least that's how I kind of grew up, skateboarding, climbing trees and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then second, the hair related things.
Yeah.
By the way, you shouldn't mention that you've had a weave around here. They might try to charge you with cultural appropriation, even though they don't know your background, they don't know the reason for it. But anyhow, yeah, I feel like it's very nice to be a little carefree about my health.
Yeah.
But it's really all we have besides time is our own health. So anytime I hear about someone who has to deal with a little bit more than I do, it kind of sparks a reflective process.
Yeah. It's been difficult since like I got diagnosed with it, but I definitely try to always look at the bright side, and you know, and the fact that a lot of people can't even tell that I'm sick already makes me feel better about it, like not that it's not noticeable. But yeah, it is a lot of maintenance, and I really feel like happy when people are like, "Oh, Anna, like you're so strong," and like you deal with all
You're
this.
so strong. You deal with all of this.
Thanks.
You want to hear about my sickness that you can't see? It's a fun one.
Sure.
Bipolar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm super stable. I feel I feel like my low was so low that I just don't have much of an interest in experimenting with anything anymore. But like I was in basically going into my senior year at another college, and I got really, I mean, the first thing was more of like just missing sleep, but then at some point I was really having deja vu, like way too much.
Whoa. So is that a side? Like, do a lot of people with bipolar have deja vu?
I don't know, but it was the first odd mental experience that I had, and it's something that you can still live with. You can still like do your daily stuff with, but it got much worse. It got to the point where it was like my most terrifying symptoms were hearing voices from the TV and the radio, which is very common for bipolar. Right. And it's like everything is a coded message. Yeah. And if you're paranoid while that's happening, then the coded message is basically like, fuck you. Like the whole universe is saying fuck you, and you're the only one who hears it. So you're just like going through your day. And at that point, you can only go so long and live a normal life like that. So, but with treatment, like, you know, medication and therapy usually is the best combination, statistically. Yeah. You can pretty much make it back to normal, especially if you're interested in, like for me, I was a hyper rational person already. So I liked the sciences, I liked engineering. Yeah. So if you're interested in viewing your own mind as a puzzle that you need to unpack, then it's actually not impossible for you to make it to a normal way of perceiving the world again. Yeah. Even if you've been in like a deep hole, which I have been. So, yeah. But
so is
Please.
Bipolar like, does it hit you in a month? Let's say in a month. Yeah. How many times would it hit you a month? Or is it that it comes sporadically? How does it work?
It's different for different people, but one of the things that everyone has in common is that their manic period or their depressed period lasts for 2 weeks or more, I think. Okay. So if, you know, you go through a breakup, you're going to be depressed. If someone dies in your family, you're going to be depressed. But for a true depressed person, there won't be any external factor that you can see, and the depression won't go away for a 2-week period. And that's kind of the test that someone would look for to say, okay, this is really a depressed person. And then for a manic person, it's you can think of it like a gambler's spirit. So it's an elevated mood, which sounds good, but it's too elevated to manage. So it's elevated when it doesn't make sense to be elevated. So a gambler is excited to spend their money because they think they're going to get money back. But if you look at the real probability, it's unlikely that they're going to get their money back. So they shouldn't be excited in the first place. So you have these kind of, you see spikes in risk-taking behavior like drugs, dangerous sex, things dealing with spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Traveling was a big thing for me.
Oh.
So criminal behavior. So like there's a bunch of things that if that lasts for too long and it's unusual, then that's kind of a manic symptom. But it can be sometimes harder to clock mania because mania is something that if you really see someone who's manic, they're like a party animal. So a lot of people like being around manic people. So a lot of the times it's encouraged and the people don't even know that they're having an abnormal experience.
Yeah. When were you diagnosed? When did you know?
2016, around March of 2016. And then basically I went through I went through mild therapy, but I went through a more intense therapy in 2017. Okay. So early 2016 and then like mild stuff, mostly medication, figuring out what works. And then once that was figured out, then I did like group therapies and individual therapies.
Was medication the most helpful thing, or do you think it was a therapy, or was it the combination?
I think that for me, when I was, medication was the most helpful early on because my mania was like psychotic after a certain point. Yeah. So like I said, hearing voices and stuff like that. Yeah. Once you're in that cycle, and by the way, this is without drugs. Like, I did drugs 3 months ago and I'm still hearing voices and stuff like that. Once you're in that world, it's, you're just not living in the real world anymore. Yeah. And the degree to which you're not living in the real world it's outside of your control. So you're watching your brain melt from the inside and you're pretty helpless. And in that case, medications are like the dream. They're perfect. Yeah. Because it's the only thing that actually addresses that. And then once that stage is over, then it's more like you have to learn how to live with your own emotions, and that's just the normal therapy.
What do the voices sound like? What
the thing about the radio is it sounds just like the radio, right? And the TV, it just sounds like the TV. It just sounds like whatever is happening on TV it has something to do with you personally. So it's more about like
whatever you're listening to?
Yeah, like every song, for instance, has encoded messages that people speak in metaphor in songs and things like that. But when you're paranoid and psychotic, it can be like really clear. It can feel like it's really clearly about you, like in some very trippy way. Yeah. The people who made the song made it for that moment for you to listen to give you that message.
I see.
So it's a disturbing feeling that this thing was planned out for me to have this experience. Yeah. Especially if it's happening all the time.
So when it's completely silent, you don't hear voices?
No, not anymore. I haven't heard for years.
Oh, okay. But like,
in that situation? No, it was mainly, I think I heard like people talking to me at one point, but it could have just been an exaggeration of my own imagination. Yeah. But like the TV and the radio, that's just, it feels like you're completely sober. Yeah. Everything's normal. You turn on the TV and it's completely talking to you. It's like.
Are you aware that you're bipolar instead of you're aware?
No, am I?
No. When it
it's going on, no. And that's what's terrifying about it. What you believe is that someone planned this TV show for me to watch, where they were going to deliver this message to me, or they're aware of the fact that I personally am watching this, and they're tailoring the message toward me.
And then when do you realize that it is your bipolar and not that it is targeting you?
Basically. Group therapy is the most helpful for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because depending on the group. Yeah. So if you have people who are worse off than you and people who are better, then it works. Because then you could see the spectrum. Like that's how I used to view the world. And that's what's possible for me. Yeah. But basically just seeing other people going through the same things.
I see.
Yeah.
So you said you did some traveling. Where'd you go? I want to know.
The best place that I went was Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, cool. That's random.
Well, here's the thing. So I was an undergraduate researcher, and I did stuff in electrical engineering. So I was like a device physics guy. If that's not too much. Anyhow, I posted. I had like worked in a lab for a while, and I got my name on some paper that wasn't a journal entry. It was like something else that was lower, but it basically summarized our work.
Yeah.
And it was for a conference. It was a conference paper.
Nice.
And the conference was in San Diego. so I go to San Diego with the grad student, and we present the paper, and then some people like it, most people don't. And then we take a picture, and I posted the picture on my Facebook. And one of my friends, I grew up in Pasadena, right? So there's like
LA?
LA area, yeah. And in Pasadena, there's a NASA center that's in cahoots with Caltech.
Okay.
So there are a lot of like engineers and scientists in that city. And one of my friend's moms is like connected to the engineering world. So when I posted the picture on Facebook, my friend from like elementary school, I haven't spoken to him or the mom in a really long time.
Yeah.
I posted the picture. She saw it and said, "Hey, I know a professor, like a black professor at Brown University.
Oh, awesome.
And if you're considering graduate school, I really want you to at least sit down and talk with this guy because he's always looking for bright young students to mentor. And who knows, maybe nothing will come from it, but I know him personally and I can connect you with him if you're interested in pursuing a career in science." And this was like maybe at the end of the summer. So
that's amazing.
yeah. So anyhow, I saw the message and I said like, thank you. And I did the conference and I had a normal brain at this point, as far as I could tell. Then some months went by. Like the school year started. A bunch of stuff happened. Like I had an ex-girlfriend who was giving me static or whatever. I had a number of stresses and pressures that were working on me. But the biggest thing was I felt like my community in the summer just deteriorated during the school year. It was like I was going to school in Alabama, and over the summer it was like we had like a California hub in the middle of Alabama. Like everyone who was there was either doing research or they were an entrepreneur or they were like an artist.
You went to school in Alabama. Wait, what year was this?
This was in 2015.
What? How old are you? Can I ask?
I'm 16 years old. Listen, let me finish, all right?
Okay.
So anyhow, I'm going to school. We had a California hub in Alabama, and then it deteriorated, and now it's back to normal, just rote learning. They weren't really interested in innovation. They were just trying to push kids through the process so they could work for like Procter & Gamble or Chevron, or one of the big companies that cater to the school. So I'm going through this, and like I start getting into the deja vu stage, where I can still like practice for the GRE and be disciplined, but I'm alone most of the day and I'm slowly freaking out.
Yeah.
And then when I get to the paranoid stage, where I think like there's a possibility my teacher might want to kill me. Probably not, but it's possible. Like these thoughts start entering my mind. This is when I reevaluate a lot of the things that happened in the past. So when I first got the message from my friend's mom, I thought nothing of it. Like, oh, this is great. Maybe I'll contact this person. But then when I start getting paranoid, I think back and I'm like, oh my God, that was like a message. They were trying to send me like a secret message to like, it's something about Brown University.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I end up, a number of things happen and I'm pretty deep in the hole now. I think by the time I decided to leave for Brown, I had already got my first tattoo. I had already like done whippets with homeless people in a park. I had already like had those manic behaviors like set in stone at this point. And this was only like a 2-3 month period between me at the scientific conference and all this shit going on. But then at some point I'm like, I can afford it. Let me go to Brown University. This is a secret message. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me see what's real and what's fake. So I buy the ticket and I just fucking fly from ATL to Rhode Island on a weekend. I don't know anybody there. I don't tell anybody. So I land. I just walk out to the taxi. I'm like, take me to Brown. And they're like, all right, yeah. And then the guys drop me off. He's like, do you know where you are right now? I said, I'll just figure it out. And he's like, all right, there's like a taco truck I recommend, but all right, have a good life. And he drives off. So I go to the taco truck, and there are 3 guys with bikes. And I'm like, where's the front office? And this is like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And they're like, oh, it's around the corner or something. I'm like, cool. And I walk over there. But when I get there, one of those guys with the bikes is already there waiting for me. And keep in mind, I'm already believing in prophecies and shit like that. So if there's any coincidences or anything where it's like somebody actually does plan something out for me, that just further solidifies my delusional thoughts. So I get there and to the front office, and he's like, yeah, the front office is closed. I realized when you asked, like, you probably don't know what's going on right now. He's like, do you need a place to stay? So I was like, of course.
Who asked if you need a place to stay?
The guy on the bike, the rando that I just met.
Like on a was it a bike or was it like a motorcycle?
No, it was a regular bike. He was a student.
Oh, it was a student.
Yeah. I was at the university already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just went from one part of the university to another. And he was like, yeah, you can come. I'm like a French student. You can come stay with me. He takes me to his dorm. It's a fucking mansion. It's a mansion that's like, they just cut out little pieces for each student.
Nice.
But I'm like, Jesus Christ, what is this fucking place? It's like a castle. Anyhow, I end up just staying with that guy. And like throughout the week, I would just go on missions every day. Like one day I just, he was like, hey, we're having like a writer come into the class, so you should just come to class with me. So I just did that. Another day, I met these entrepreneurs who were like, they were connected with the guys who started Airbnb, and they were like, yeah, we're starting this party app. You want to party with us? So I just partied with them another night. I just did random shit. Like at one moment I was trying to build a website for myself. At another moment I was trying to like contact their psychology department or like their therapy thing. Because I would have moments of clarity where I'm like, I'm fucking crazy. Like I need to, this is not cool, man. Yeah. But then the next thing comes and then that moment didn't matter.
Right.
It's just another mission, you know? It's like you're in a constant video game. So
you're just staying with that French student.
Yeah, but eventually he starts getting pissed. He's like, yo, dude, you need to be clear with me about what the fuck's going on right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Everything's good. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, man, you're making moves and I don't really understand what you're trying to do. Like, what is your goal? And I'm like, listen, I'm figuring it out. Meanwhile, I'm trying to like decode shit. But one of the things was I ended up setting up a meeting with that professor. And I told the guy, like, yeah, this was the reason why I came out here. And I contacted him. And he was like, great, go to the meeting. And then I slept on it. And the night before, I started freaking out. Because I was like, wait, what if this was the fucking setup? What if the setup was for me to be far away from anyone that knew me so that this guy could fucking attack me or something? Like, I was already thinking my teachers might kill me. You know what I mean? So I thought, fuck. This guy, like, I haven't spoken to my friend's mom in years. That could be a fake account. This guy, I've never met him. Why would he be interested in me?
Yeah.
I'm here. Everything's working out way too well. Why is this guy letting me sleep in his house? You know what I mean? Why is he inviting me to classes and shit? How come these entrepreneurs met me? How the fuck how did they even know I cared about entrepreneurship? Why would they invite me to anything? So all these doubts started coming up, even though it was crazy, but it was a decent plan. I actually made real connections, you know? But I ended up not even going to the fucking meeting that I set up. I ended up
because
leaving.
You freaked out?
Oh yeah. I was deep in the hole. I got on a bus to go to the airport. Something happened on the bus. I jump off of the fucking bus. Then I'm in the hood in Rhode Island. I see like a liquor store, a couple of people like just standing on the porch pointing at me. I'm like, dude, I don't know where the fuck I am right now. Like I might die out here. And then I had my skateboard with me. I started skating in one direction. I took a left, took a right. And somehow or another.
Can I pause you?
Yeah, I made it to the airport.
I feel like I'm having like I don't know if epiphany is the right word, but I had no idea that paranoia was a symptom or side effect or whatever of bipolar because I can get into this later after you finish your story, but...
Well, that's basically the story, is that I went out there for crazy reasons, and I didn't even finish the reason where I went. I didn't even complete the real mission. That's how insane I was. I actually could have, in my psychotic mind, I could have had a connection with a Brown University professor.
Yeah.
but I fucked it up because I was paranoid.
Did you at least say bye and thank you?
No,
to the French
hell
student?
no. To him, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. And I'm still connected to him.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I contacted him and said, hey, you know what? I was fucking out of my mind when I met you, but thanks for the hospitality.
Did he notice that you was something off? Like, did he notice?
Yeah, he noticed. Yeah, but he was also a kind person, and he knew that I wasn't a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to another story time. My senior year at UCSB was hell because I started dating this guy, and there was a point where he started hearing voices after he got jumped, and it was really bad. Okay, so I'll just like try to summarize it as much as I can. But okay, first of all, he was already very like an entitled asshole in my opinion, like very like the way that he spoke to his mom when he was trying to help, and then he would like send me screenshots and be like, my mom's being a bitch right now, and I'd be like, no, she's trying to help. It's very clear that she's trying to help from anyone else who's reading this.
Right.
Like for example, like he talked about his like how he can't leave his bike outside, and she was like, oh well, is there room inside, is there anywhere inside? And then he would be like, mom, are you an idiot? Like I have like blah blah blah, why would I leave it inside? And just giving attitude back. So anyways, he was already very like entitled. So he worked at Sprouts, and
very entitled place to work.
Well, he was a student working at Sprouts, and so he got home like working at 11, and he has to park his car far from his house because there's like bad parking on his street. And he was walking to his house, and it was like 11:30 at night, and he sees like these two guys. They're probably smoking weed or doing something, but he flashes his flashlight toward them, like his phone flashlight. And then the dudes are like, this is the story he told me at least. And the dudes are like, hey, dude, turn the light off. And then he's like, no. And he goes, why don't you guys stop being sketchy and I'll turn the light off.
Oh.
And then the dudes are like, dude, walk the other way. And then he's like, he goes, no, I fucking live this way, so I'm going to walk this way. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's looking for a fight. And this was in the same time. You said that, wait a minute.
Okay, yeah.
After he got jumped, that's when he started acting different.
No.
He was already acting this way.
He was already an asshole, but his assholeness, and all of my housemates and all my friends said that he was an asshole too, but it like escalated once after this fight happened. So then this is just the story he tells me, and then he says that they got into a fight and it was 2 versus 1 and blah blah. So he calls me. Well, he sends me a picture of his face, which is all bloody, and he calls me, and he's like, he's like, what should I do? Like, I think I have a concussion. What should I do? Should I go to the hospital? Oh my God, but the fees are going to be really bad. And I was like, if you feel like you need to go to the hospital, I can take you to the hospital. He's like, okay, well, where the fuck are you? Can you drive me? And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. And I like bring all this like Neosporin and stuff. And I get there, and the first thing once we arrive to the ER is that he's so disrespectful to the nurse. So then the first thing the nurse asks is, or one of the first things is, oh, did you file a police report? And he goes, the fuck would I do that for? And it's like, come on, this person's trying to help you, and you're just being an ass. And this is just this being an ass is just who he is. Anyways, fast forward to like 2 days later, he starts thinking that everywhere we go, even when we're studying in the library, he starts hearing people talking about the fight. And even when we were at his apartment complex, he would hear his neighbors talking about the fight, and he'd be like, don't you hear that? They're literally talking about the fight, and like, I think the people that beat me up are related to the neighbors. And I'm like, no, they're not. And he's like, and he would say really like mean things to me. He'd be like, you're the most oblivious person I've ever met. How the fuck do you not hear that? And I'd be like, I just don't hear anything. I think it's in your head. And then every time I would try to tell him that it was in his head, he wouldn't believe, like he wouldn't believe me. And then I would try to like be rational with him. Like when he would hear it in the library, he'd be like, Anna, don't you hear it? That guy's literally talking about the fight. They're literally out for me. And I'm like, no, I don't hear anyone talking about the fight. We'd be in the library, he would hear it. We would go to like In and Out, and he would hear it. And I'd be like, why is it that everywhere you go that you would hear it? And then he would get pissed at me because I wasn't hearing it. And then he would call me oblivious and stupid and all this stuff. And eventually I got him to see I told him to go to CAPS, which was our school counseling, and then the counselor was like very concerned and like sent him to see a psychiatrist, and he started saying like, I'm concerned about how this psychologist is so concerned. And then so he sees the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist I think prescribed Zyprexa, and apparently it wasn't working, and then when he would get upset, he'd be like, you put me on meds. He would blame it on me. He'd be like, you got me on meds. He's like, I don't want to be on meds. I don't want to be on meds, and blah, 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 blah. And so, I don't know. It could have been bipolar, maybe? I have no idea.
It could have been a lot of different things. And the thing about paranoia is a symptom of a lot of different, diseases.
Yeah.
So just paranoia alone is usually not enough for a diagnosis. But
right.
One of the interesting things about meds is that there's so many meds.
Yeah.
A lot of different ones do different things. And then a lot of the ones that are supposed to do the same thing, for any given person, they might have dramatically different reactions to those meds.
Yeah.
Like for some people, for the medications I take, I have almost no reaction. Every psychiatrist that I've spoken to is like, that's a little unusual, but
that you don't like the meds
I basically
don't.
No, it's no reaction and no negative side effects. Is what I mean.
Oh, that's good.
No negative side effects. So it's like, but for other people, they say, oh, that's the worst one. It does this, and that. And I remember some of the meds that I originally had that were more like antipsychotic rather than mood stabilizing that I liked, because when I was like in the depth of psychosis, man, anything to get me out was very appreciated, because there's nothing you can do to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What can I do? Nothing. You just sit there and just experience the effects of your brain.
Yeah.
Right? But the drug's never going to go away.
Yeah.
The medication, it's kind of funny for mental illnesses, but the medication kind of removes the drug effects. It stabilizes us out. Whereas most people are, doing drugs to try to have a crazy experience. I'm trying to just have a normal experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's entirely possible that this person was bipolar or a number of other things, and it's entirely possible that the medication of Zyprexa at that dosage was not the best for them, but something else would work for them. It's just a matter of luck, really.
Right.
I mean, I'm one of the lucky people that throughout my mental health journey, everything has worked out.
That's good.
The medications have worked out. There's been one horrible, fucking terrible psychiatrist. But other than him, it's all worked out. And I didn't have to deal with him for very long.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was... I sympathize with people who have to deal with the medication cocktails and the false, the false hope of maybe this combination of medications will work and then it doesn't.
Yeah.
This one doesn't let me sleep, but it helps this. This one stops that, but it starts this.
Yeah.
For me, it's been pretty simple and smooth sailing. But I understand that it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
His comment about the meds is valid. If he is delusional and he tried a medication and it didn't work, then that's the expected reaction, is that he would reject all medication. You can't expect an irrational person to think rationally.
Right,
but the reality is, it's entirely possible that a medical, with some therapy, a medical solution could work for him.
Yeah.
Another
thing was that he was so against, at first he was really for his psychologist, and then later he just started hating the psychologist and psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And that was, but I don't know what's going on anymore, because that was a while, and I eventually stopped talking to them.
You like crazy guys?
Eventually, I guess I attract them. I don't know.
I realized at some point that I need crazy women in my life, but they've got to be the right type of crazy. It can't be too much sauce. It's got to be crazy in the sense that it's it's flavorful. It's artistic.
Yeah.
It's but it's not explosive.
Yeah.
It's better if they have a depth of taste. That's the type of crazy that I can handle, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. What is a depth of taste?
I don't know, like opinionated but not aggressive.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Obsessive but not but they practice self-care. You know, like there's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like they can go into the depths of their own mind.
Yeah.
Like they have that ability, but they hold back for their own self-care purposes.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So like artists I really like.
Yeah.
Scientists too in a weird way. It's kind of a different bend. Funny people are my favorite.
Funny people are my favorite too. I think
they're all fucked up, but they kind of handle it.
I think one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is like, for me to feel compatible with someone, I really need to have the same type of humor with them. Like I've dated so many people where I'm just like trying to laugh with them, but we don't have that like laughing till our stomach hurts kind of laughing. Like I don't know, I can't date someone that doesn't laugh at the same things that I laugh at.
That's fair.
You know? And I don't think a lot of people think about that, you know?
Yeah,
like,
humor is
so important.
It's an interesting language.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the language of the sloppy. It's like there's a point, it's like all metaphors almost. Like there are points being made, there are things being said, but they're indirect and they're clever and witty. And it's like you gotta be smart enough, but you gotta be like sloppy enough. Yeah. It's like a little bit of clean and dirty. Yeah. It's got to be the right ratio. If it's too clean, it's still good, but you're like
that wasn't that funny.
Like there's a limit to family friendly funny.
Right, that's true. I agree.
Because it should just be whatever is funny about real life. Yeah. Can you package it? Yeah. And sometimes that's in the bounds and sometimes it's not. But I agree with you. The sense of humor is an important kind of metric.
Yeah. I actually just heard on the radio recently, it was like making fun of family members, or like it was two people talking on the radio and saying like making fun of family members enhances your relationship or something. And
well, it's a way of acknowledging things.
That's exactly what they said. It's like acknowledging things. Because I can't remember exactly what they said, but they said something like, because like they're pointing out something in a funny way and acknowledging that they know that about you, but they still love you regardless, right? Or something like that. And I feel like that's like with most people. Like once people make jokes with you, then you feel more comfortable. Like when they poke, I don't know. I mean, obviously some people are very sensitive about being poked fun at, and I get it. Obviously depends on like what it is about too. Yeah. But I noticed that like even I feel more comfortable sometimes when people are teasing, depending on what it is. Depending on what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Humor can also reveal people's boundaries. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite things is to see like what is the edge before this person gets really upset. Yeah. And one quick and dirty way of doing it is through jokes. Yeah. It's because it's not serious. Yeah. If you're doing a joke, like if things go wrong, you can kind of just apologize. It was just a joke. You know, if you're being serious too early and you don't know where the boundaries are, and that's how you find out as you cross them while you're being serious. Yeah, it can turn into a real blood feud because it's like, well, that's really what you think about this. It's like, come on, man. If it's a joke, there's a little bit of a mask. Like, okay, I might think it, I might not. I might just be saying it because I think someone else thinks it's funny. Right. So, yeah. You can acknowledge things and you can discover boundaries. Yeah, exactly.
Another thing about humor, I feel like I don't like relate to a lot of people's shows that they watch that are humorous or that they think are humorous. Like growing up, I really loved like Simpsons and South Park and like King of the Hill and stuff. And I don't know why, but I mean, I just don't find like, I mean, I still find like some episodes of South Park funny, but like a lot of people, I guess I haven't watched enough of it either, but I don't really, I can't laugh at like The Office as much. And what's the other one? It's like Something Sunny.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I've watched like 3 episodes and I'm like, I don't get why this is like so super funny. Yeah. And I used to love SpongeBob, and I used to think it was so funny. And now I'm like, okay, SpongeBob's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you grow and you change. And
Yeah.
your humor might change, should change with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And things I think are funny, like, oh my God, I love watching Key and Peele. I think Key and Peele is so funny. Like, so we watched, I went to Santa Barbara to visit my friends recently, and we watched Bird Box. Okay,
Yeah.
I can't handle scary movies. Like, I was scared. I started Wikipediaing the movie within 20 minutes because I was like, I have to know what happens because I'm going to be really scared. So I started reading it with my friend who was sitting next to me, just so because we were both really scared. And then right when the movie ended, I was like, all right, we got to put on Key and Peele because I'm so scared.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I had to watch something funny immediately after. And so we watched like 5 Key and Peele videos. It was really great.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you like Key and Peele?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I haven't been watching them recently, but I feel like I understand what their style is and I like it. And I think the biggest thing is I respect it.
Yeah.
I really think that they work hard at the acting part and at like the writing part, or whoever writes for them works hard at that.
Right.
So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I've been gravitating more toward just plain stand-up, but I also watch a lot of podcasts. So I watch them because I'm like, I'm interested in getting a camera in here soon, and I'm like, I've been obsessing over setups.
Yeah.
So I end up watching them for longer than I otherwise would have, and then I actually enjoy them for the content. Like I start off just wanting to see how people set things up.
Yeah.
And then I finish like, well, that actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it's like stand-up is different from, skits is different from movies. The humor is different.
Right.
But I think my favorites are probably stand-up and podcasts. As far as humor.
Yeah, yeah.
To have funny people just
I like
no
stand-up
script
too.
and then funny people by themselves on a stage. Yeah.
There was another really funny show that I was just dying at that I forgot what it was called. It was something American, and I think the title had American in it, but it was basically like they tricked these people onto being and these people that they tricked were like bad people, and they caught them being awful people on TV, and like they were just like messing with them. One of them was about like this guy who was selling a yacht.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll sound familiar to you, but this like super rich guy was selling a yacht, and then the guy that was trying to buy the yacht was the guy running the show, and saying like, "Oh yeah, I was thinking about doing some like, some sex things with children on this yacht. Is okay? And then the guy was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it was like this guy's really selling this yacht for prostitution or whatever, and like he was like totally okay with it.
Yeah.
And it was like catching these bad people. I forgot what it was called, but it was like so funny because it was.
That's an interesting thing. On one hand, the person selling the yacht isn't really doing any crime, but if they know about the fact that someone else wants to, then they should hold back still.
Yeah, and
he
not
wasn't make the sale. Yeah, he's
right.
like, "Fuck that. That's not my problem."
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like I need to show it to you because I did not like the way that I described it. Isn't nearly as funny.
This is online. Okay. Enough time has gone by, right? We can wrap this up. We can wrap this up.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then you can show me on my computer.
Okay.
Time for the most important question in the universe. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Round or square?
I feel like I have to say round because of the domes.
Fair enough. That's right.
Right?
Thank you for your time. Okay,
Thanks.
hit the stop button on there. It's like, no, not that one. It's like one of the other ones. The stop.